All right, Coleman powersports mini bike. I originally got this thing to take it on the Gambler. We decided to do the Gambler in 2019, me and my teammate Jay, and I just, we were taking an old 1970 Ford Falcon. I had no idea how this thing was going to perform, so I really felt like we needed some kind of backup vehicle. We had a couple of pieces of recovery gear and stuff like that, but I just thought it might be really smart to have some kind of backup vehicle in case we got stuck on the trail and we needed to go for help. So that's why I originally got this Coleman powersports mini bike. We ended up taking it on the Gambler. I rode it out there stock. I rode it stock for the first year. Did zero modifications to it, and it was still super fun. We had a successful run on the Gambler in 2019. It was really fun that whole trip. I rode it for probably about 75 miles, we estimated, during that weekend on the trail. Yeah, had a lot of fun with it. Rode it really hard. It did really well on pretty rough terrain. I'm a big 240 pound guy, so it did pretty well with that. Technically the weight limit is 220 or 200 pounds. So I'll get into why that may or may not be a relevant weight limit here in a minute. I'm really happy with this bike. I would definitely buy one again. I think they're awesome. They're super fun. It's really nice how low to the ground they are. I like the tire width because the big soft tires give you added traction when there's soft silty sand. They also add a little bit of suspension. This model has the front shock, and it's a hardtail, of course. This is probably I think one of the best models overall, having the shock on the front. It's super necessary. It makes for a huge difference in just terms of the overall comfort of the bike. So that's why I got the mini bike. It's been really fun, like I said. I definitely encourage people to get mini bikes and rip them. I've got another motorcycle here. I've got my DRZ. I've got a couple other ones too. I've had other motorcycles over time. This remains to be one of the most fun toys I have, just because I can throw it on the back of this little rack I made on any of the vehicles and take it camping or take it wherever. It always lights people's faces up from young to old, So yeah, I totally love this thing. With that said, I rode it for about a year, and then one day I was riding it, just putting around the trail, and I jumped it, and the frame snapped in half. The jump itself was only about a curb high, little dirt ramp. Jumped it up, landed, the down tube, right where it connects to the fork, snapped in half. I'm gonna put a bunch of pictures up at the end of my little intro here, so you can see the process of the snap to rebuild experience here with this. But basically, yeah, I went off a little jump, snapped in half. That leads me to think that maybe all the hard riding I did and all the kind of jumping and smashing on it probably cracked the frame, and then that last little jump just finally broke it in half. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that one little jump that snapped it. It was probably stress fractures that over time just ended up cracking in half. So yeah, this frame broke in half on me, and it basically threw me over the handlebars. I scraped up my shoulder. I got some permanent little scratches on my elbow that I've got as a trophy from that now. So it is what it is. I kind of knew that this thing, it's obviously a really cheap motorcycle. It's not really meant to be a supercross style bike. It's not really meant for that kind of abuse, but they're also pretty tough, so it's hard to tell exactly how hard you should take it on this thing. They do have a new model now that you'll notice if you go and look for this model. This is the CT200EX, I think, or CT200UEX, yeah. There's also a CT200 that's the black frame, and that frame style has 3 times the size tubing. I've heard of other mini bikes breaking like this. I've never actually seen evidence of it. I've never seen photos or videos of anyone else breaking this frame, but I definitely did, and it sucked. I could have gotten really hurt. I wasn't wearing a helmet at the time, honestly, but I just went over the bars, scratched my arm up. Otherwise, I was okay. Me and my teammate Jay, we fixed it. We used solid steel bar stock in both down tubes to reinforce basically the entire tube. Welded it back together, took an angle grinder, polished it, and then painted the frame. So it looks a little bit Frankenstein-y if you look close. Like it's more of a matte paint there than like a glossy paint, which is on the rest of it. I mean, the whole thing is scratched up, but you know what I mean. So that was really the first mod I did, was getting the frame back together in one piece. Yeah, so that was a big chore. Now that I've got it together, I'm not jumping it as much. I am a little bit cautious that, like, hey, I could break this frame again, and maybe in a different spot. I don't know, but it seems like it's been okay for now. So yeah, it's just a cautionary tale. You know, you might want to be careful. I'm 240 pounds at the moment, so like that probably had something to do with it. I think if you were a smaller person, it may have not broken, but I don't know. You know, it's up to who knows what. There's probably a lot of variables that led to this thing breaking. So yeah, that's what it is. That was my first mod, is putting the thing back together. After we did that, we bought an upgrade exhaust for it. Turned out not to fit, so we ended up making some modifications to it. This is a thread-on muffler. You can put one that's Forest Service approved on that doesn't throw sparks, but this is like a cheaper one I just keep on there when I'm not riding in the forest or in super deep trail conditions. Did the intake, we basically rebuilt the motor on the inside, pulled out the plastic flywheel and did a billet aluminum flywheel, did the governor delete. What else? Oh, the biggest upgrade was adding the torque converter. My experience with this is that like hugely improves the overall riding ability of the bike. It's way faster, way more fun, gets off the line and goes faster overall. I've worn out the belt on this one with about a year of riding, so that just tells you that, like, you know, for what it's worth, you're gonna have to change the belts every once in a while. So you could probably get away with going longer than that, but like, you know, I'm big and heavy and we ride this thing a lot, so it gets used. The other upgrades would be I put on the custom pegs. The foot pegs are a big difference. Big difference than the stock ones. The stock ones, they kind of bend over time. Your feet get wet and they start to slip off, so you have to upgrade the foot pegs. Actually, pretty much with any motorcycle, you got to do that. These were cheap ones I got on Amazon. They work really well. They're really flat and sturdy. It's really nice to have a solid base, so that's great. This particular bike has the plastic gas tank, which I love. You always end up putting stuff in there. You know, put a joint or a beer or your car keys or your wallet or your GoPro, phone, a million different things you can put in there, and you use that thing a lot. So the other model I mentioned before doesn't have a gas tank thing. You can always put one on there, I guess. You can put some kind of storage thing on there, but it doesn't come stock. This one comes stock, so it's just really nice to have, and it also looks cool. This has like kind of an off-road sort of chopper ride to it, and the other one's more just kind of boxy and square. So just depending on like what style you like better, you know, you got to sort of make that call. This one also has an upgraded brake lever, which I really recommend. The stock one, I broke the stock one off. You know, dirt bikes, you always break the levers. So yeah, just be ready to replace that one. I put a rear view mirror on there that's for a dirt bike, so you can flip it up when you need it. Most of the time you don't need it, but in case if you are riding on the street for a little bit and you need to see behind you, it's good to have that. The only other upgrade is the handlebars, which made a huge difference. The stock ones basically hit your knees if you're an adult, period. So you have to upgrade the stock ones. Like I said, I rode this thing stock for a year, so you know, you don't have to do this stuff right away. You can kind of pick and pick your upgrades and sort of do it over time if you want, or you can just do it all at once. I mean, it's totally like up to you, but that's what we did with this one. I love these handlebars. They're gold and blinged out. I love gold. I love camo and gold and teal and stuff, so those are my favorite colors. I love this thing. It's super fun. You can really ride it all day. My next upgrades for it are going to be a front brake, so I might make a video about that. Basically, you take a back wheel and then you have to kind of, you know, rig something up on the front end, but We've done it on another mini bike, so I think it should be pretty straightforward to do. I think it's really nice to have 2 brakes. You know, this one comes with just a rear brake stock, so that's fine. But when you get in real hairy trails or when you're going down really steep stuff, it's sort of not enough, especially when you're a bigger guy. So, anyways, yeah, I love this bike. I would definitely buy another one if I could. Eventually, I want to get some kind of like rear suspension thing. I might have to get a new frame for it or modify this one somehow. But overall, this thing's badass and I love it. That's it. Coleman Powersports mini bike. Get one.